We're going to Italy for this next one because Italy has some really interesting stuff going on over there. Okay, so back in January, there was an outline registration and reporting requirement set forth for virtual asset service providers, VASPs, that align with the EU's fifth AML directive and the FATF guidelines for crypto firms. So basically what they did was they created this reporting list. So anybody, any crypto businesses that want to set up in Italy, starting in May, they were able to add themselves to this registration list, overseen by, I love this, the Organismo Agenti e Mediatori, the OAM, a supervisory body in Italy that maintains the list of financial agents like credit mediators and money changers, whatever. So they started applying. We added, over the summer, 73 crypto firms have been added to this approved list. These include prominent crypto firms like Coinbase, Binance, Crypto.com, and they're all excited because they've secured regulatory approval to continue operating in Italy. And one of the other things they have to do to be approved is have a home base. They have to have a branch in Italy. So that sounds cool, except when you really look at it, it turns out that there's only like 15 days that the OAM has to turn around their approval or denial of the application, which isn't a lot of time for them to do actual, investigating and checking into these companies. So I guess what they didn't, apparently. And some of these places, their version of a branch is their lawyer's office or something in Italy. So what we have here, it seems, is an approval process to make sure that these crypto companies are legit, but nobody's actually checking into them. That might be done down the road. So yeah, that's a kind of a weird situation that we're seeing there in Italy. Anybody want to weigh in on this?
I can take it quickly.
Nodding your head. Oh yeah, Jen, great.
I'll get it after Jen.
Okay, I'll take it super quickly and I'll toss it off to Will. I just keep thinking of our retail investors, right? We tell people to do their own research, to do as much research as they can before they interact with any of these crypto companies. And I think that a lot of people might look to what companies are regulated and assume that they've gone through some sort of due diligence process. And so to hear that 73 firms haven't been vetted in Italy was very shocking for me to read this morning. And it was interesting to hear the board say that, yes, we're still figuring out how we're going to collect this data. And so my next question was, okay, well, what happens if after we collect the data, we find out that some of these companies should not be registered with the regulator? What's the recourse there and who is responsible? I think that there's maybe a little bit of a lack of forward thinking here. And at the end of the day, it's just the retail investors, the people who the regulators should be looking out for, the people who the regulators say they're looking out for, who are going to suffer. So this was a little bit sad and jarring to read this morning. Will, what do you got?
I don't know. I disagree with you. Long live the laissez-faire Mediterranean attitude. I love it. They're not checking anything. They're just letting it exist.
They gotta
scoot
then why
on
have it at
by,
all?
do whatever
Why
you want.
have it at all, Will?
I like it. I like it. This is very on brand for Italy. Continue to be on brand, Italy. And let's not forget that everyone else who says they know how to do this on the regulatory stance is full of it. Okay, guess what? New York, 2015 bit license. They pushed that through. It was the worst piece of legislation you could do. Do you want Italy to do that because they don't know how this crypto stuff works? I don't think you do. I think I'd rather just let them scoot on by. Let them take their time. They'll figure it out at some point, and then they'll get some good stuff on the books. New York doesn't know how to do it either, right? They haven't known how to do this forever, but they just pushed legislation through. Italy put, hands up. They said, oh, we can't figure this out. We'll let you guys slide by. I'm sure you guys are doing okay. We'll figure it out later. One other last point I think that's good to make here. Italy is part of the EU, and the EU is passing all this crypto legislation right now. We talked about yesterday. We don't really know how it's going to stack up together, right? So like Italy might have some legislation on its books, but Italy also subscribes to the EU. So once the EU legislation passes, it might change how Italy does things. It might be best to wait. We don't know how those interact. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit more tough than necessarily we know right now to get through all this regulatory web. Zach, throw it up to you.
I'm with Will. Like, at the risk of inflaming pro-Italy Twitter trolls, isn't Italy like known for bureaucratic dysfunction? Like, there's some crazy postal service strikes in Italian history, all sorts of crazy stuff where tons of undelivered mail just dumped, whatever, in the canal, in the dump, no big deal. Look it up. There's some good stuff out there. So I think I'm with Will. This is par for the course. And you know what? It's hard stuff to figure out. It's like they got to figure it out. Micah may provide some clarity here, but that's not going to be involved. That's not going to be implemented until 2024. So in the meantime, there's going to be sort of this piecemeal approach to regulation, to registration. And at the moment, there's a bit of like arbitrage that companies are playing in terms of whether or not they're going to be restrictive and harsh toward the industry or accepting, embracing, and potentially even a bit laissez-faire, as Will put it. So I don't know. We'll have to check in and see if this has any meaningful ramifications.
Yeah. To be fair on this, you got to make sure you understand also that just because you're on the list doesn't mean that you are officially, given a license or there's nothing super official about being on this list. It's the mixed messaging of it that I think is part of the problem. It's like, yes, they're on this approved list, but what does approved mean? And what kind of, what does it take? Apart from filling out an application? Not much. So it does send mixed messages to people who are, as you say, Jen, doing their own research. And I think either one way or the other, whether you think it's hilarious, unnecessary, or whatever, the point is people who really do want to figure things out, they're going to have a hard time knowing whether or not a particular company is on the up and up. And of course, then you've got companies like, say, Coinbase or Crypto.com who are out there going, hey, look, we're okay by Italy, without actually saying what okay means. So
when everyone's okay by Italy, apparently.
I'm okay with that. Let's all move to Italy. We can do the hash there. Why
I would
do
love
things
that.
in
We
San
could
Francisco,
register,
New York, Portugal,
regulate, do all kinds of things.
Italy.
Yeah.
I got family.
I'm here for it.